I'm going to give you my top 10 reasons for singing Gregorian chant at Mass. So number 10, singing chant is a joyful thing to do. It is a highly joyful thing to do. Singing chant tends to have the effect that it makes you a better prayer in Mass, right? So it's pretty easy to just consume music at Mass or to view it as entertainment, meaning it's music meant for stimulation, I enjoy it, therefore we're going to sing it, that kind of stuff. But chant is different. By its very nature, chant is a servant of the text. So in general, with songs, pop songs, especially that kind of stuff, it's very different. The music is meant to stimulate the listener, which is awesome. I love pop music. Not a day goes by when I don't listen to pop music. But then when I'm at Mass, it's very different because the music is the servant of the text. So what ends up happening is, as opposed to the music stimulating me and trying to make me entertained, the music acts as a vehicle for prayer. There's one other aspect of chant that makes it such a joyful thing to do and it makes you a better prayer, is that chant is not metrical. So metrical music is basically all the music you tend to hear on the radio, or it's a hymn. It's anything that can have a meter, metrical. So a mighty fortress is our God. A mighty fortress is our God. Something like that. Anything you can divide into beats is metrical music. Chant is not metrical. Chant is modal, and this is the cool thing, it moves according to the rhythm of the speech. So as opposed to something that you need to divide into quarter notes, you simply move along. It's fluid and it's flowing the same way as when you speak. And because of this, it helps you, the prayer and the chanter, to connect so much more deeply with that text. Chant has made me a better prayer. I bet it would make you a better prayer, and it certainly makes me a more joyful prayer when I'm at Mass. Number 9, singing chant connects us to our Jewish heritage. So the language of chant comes from ancient Judaism and ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and they all fuse together. And when we sing chant, so many of these melodies, we don't actually know their true origin. We know that maybe they were finally written down at 412 AD, but we don't know where it came from. We know that it comes out of this mess in history when all these systems, the Jewish, Greek, and Roman, collided, right? And then we come out with Christianity. But the amazing thing about singing chant is you can actually be singing chant that was sung by Jesus himself in the synagogue. Number 8. Traditional Gregorian chant being sung at Mass seems to be attracting younger families and younger people to Mass. So at a great number of parishes that I know, the average age of the singing ensemble that tends to sing perhaps music from the 60s and 70s and 80s tends to be a much higher age group. And then when you put together a chant choir or something along those lines, that's when you end up getting the under 30s and that kind of group. And there's been this big groundswell where the younger generation is incredibly interested in not just music from the 90s or the 70s or something like that, but the music that connects us to our heritage. It's something I've seen all over the country, a lot of other music directors, and it's something to pay attention to, that Gregorian chant is really attractive to younger people. And I think a big reason for that is that I don't go to Mass. I'm not going to be a Christian just to hang out at the community center, right? If I want to hang out at the community center, I'm going to go hang out at the community center, right? But if I'm going to Mass, what I am seeking and longing is the transcendent, is the beyond. Chant is part of that. Chant doesn't tell you what to feel the way tonal music does. It doesn't say, this is a happy song, this is a sad song. Chant helps you pray. Chant brings you into the presence of God. It helps you seek and look beyond yourself. Number 7, chant requires very few resources to implement. So the instrument of the Catholic Church, it's not organ, it's not piano, it's not violin, it's not flute, it's the human voice. Right? So if there's a parish program trying to implement chant or do Gregorian chant, you don't have to go to some publisher and to buy thousands of dollars worth of books. You don't have to go buy new instruments. You don't need microphones. You don't need a mixer. You don't need all of the equipment that tends to come with other genres of music. All you need is the human voice. And the great thing is, it's all at a copyright. No one has a copyright on Gregorian chant. So it's all free, online, all that kind of stuff. CPDL, IMSLP, there are these great websites, it's all free. And that's what's a great thing, right, for implementing Gregorian chant. Not only is it in our history, right, and our tradition and connects us with that past, right, it's also actually easy and free and cheap to implement. Number 6, by its nature, chant helps us to engage with the word. So chant is free-flowing, right? It's not metrical. It doesn't have that driving rhythm. It allows us to engage more deeply. Most profoundly, chant, it elevates the logos, the word, above the music. That is not present in other genres. So chant really helps us to engage in the prayer. It's pretty easy to sing a song and just to sing the lyrics and then go back and go, wait, what did that lyric mean, right? You don't have that problem with chant because it is the text, right, that is preeminent, and then the music is a servant to that and it flows around it. Number 5, chant is especially suited for the Catholic liturgy. So chant grew up with the early Christians. If you want to sing the music that the early martyrs in the Colosseum were singing before they went out to their death, you get to do that with Gregorian chant. Right? It is especially suited. So one of the things that's a hallmark of the Christian faith is that we don't believe history is an accident. We don't believe it's an accident that Jesus was born when he was born, the time in history when he was born. And as part of that, the Christian liturgy and the Christian faith, as it was born along with this musical tradition, and it has been the musical tradition of the church all the way through. So it's especially suited to the liturgy for that reason, because of the history, but also because it molds perfectly on with the liturgical actions. It molds on with the responses between the people. It molds with the offertory and with communion, right? And with our introit at the beginning and all this. And chant molds to the liturgy like a hand in a glove. Number 4, chant is a unifying force. St. Maximilian Kolbe, one of my favorite saints, right? What did he sing? Gregorian chant. St. Francis of Assisi, another one of my favorite saints. What did he sing? Gregorian chant. There's this just incredible power to be able to sing the music of the great saints. Thomas Aquinas, Gregorian chant. Name a saint in history, and guess what they sang? Gregorian chant. So it's this unifying force across history. It allows us to feel connected with those who came before us. And it's a beautiful tradition that draws us together across the generations. Number 3, chant is a unifying force in the local level. So yeah, it unifies across generations, but it also unifies on the local level. So here at Christ the King, we've got a whole bunch of different languages represented and different cultures and different backgrounds, and it's beautiful. And it's unifying for us to all use the same language, the language of the Catholic Church. Because before I'm anything else, I'm a Catholic when I'm at Mass. And then when we all get to sing that chant together, it unifies us. And it's very beautiful to be able to do that despite the background of everyone who's present at Mass. Number 2, the mandate of the Church from the very earliest councils has been to sing chant at Mass. That's a good enough reason there for me. Saint Pope Pius X, Pius XII, Saint Pope John Paul II, Benedict XVI, Pope Francis, all of them have said, hey, chant. Yeah, that's the thing we got to do, right? So that's enough for me right there. There's just this grand tradition, all 2,000 years, that says, hey, do chant when you're at Mass. The number one reason to do chant at Mass is that it instills spiritual fruits in those who sing it. Chant, in a very particular way, a special way, orients the singer and the prayer towards the other, capital O. It orients us towards the beyond. When we get caught up in our feelings too much, right? So feelings are incredibly important, and we pay attention to them, and they guide us sometimes in the right direction, sometimes in the wrong direction, right? We know that we don't base the way we live our lives off of our feelings, right? And there's something that happens in people who sing chant. It tends to instill peace, order, charity, and joy in people because it further brings us out of ourselves. It's really easy for us to do things in life. I am no exception whatsoever to do things for me, take care of number one, right? We don't want to do that because we lose all the spiritual fruits when we live that way. And chant is this vehicle, this incredibly powerful vehicle that saint after saint after saint has talked about and written about, that orients us towards the other. It moves us towards what is beyond the self. And that is where the best things in life are, and that is where the deepest spiritual fruits are.